But with WoW, you really have to put in the work. You really have to put in that effort to see, okay, what can I do? How are the people going to remember me? How are the fans going to relate to me? What can I do to stand out?
Women's Wrestling Talk, the number one women's wrestling network on the planet.
You're watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the number one women's wrestling show on the planet. My name is TK Trinidad, and we have an amazing show and, of course, nothing but amazing guests. He's the visionary behind the WoW superheroes legacy, and she's a longtime fan favorite and ring veteran fighting to reclaim her spot at the top. Please welcome David McLane and Santana Garrett. How are you guys doing today?
Hi, TK. So nice meeting you, and thank you so much for having us on today.
I am truly excited. I've been watching and covering WoW for a very long time, and I love to see the evolution and growth of it. This question is for you, David. WoW has such a unique legacy, especially in women's wrestling. So looking back from the early days to now, episode 338, how has the vision of WoW evolved and what has stayed the same?
It's evolved because its fan base is continuing to grow. And it's evolved because you've got now athletes like Santana Garrett who come from the professional wrestling world, not only in terms of her skill set in the ring and having toured and wrestled in all the other big organizations, but she's been in wrestling since she was like 5 years old. And so it's grown because you have someone like Santana who's been in wrestling from day one, who's now in WoW still participating in it. And I think the skill set of all the wrestling and the athleticism has clearly evolved and improved over the years.
Very much so. So Santana, you've been part of WoW for a long time as well. What does it mean to you personally to still be here and fighting, especially in the next episode that's coming up, as far as, you're trying to reclaim that title?
It's incredible to be back with WoW. I think back to me first getting into the wrestling world after training, and WoW was the first company to really give me an opportunity, to give me a push. David and WoW believed in me when I didn't believe in myself and I didn't know what I was capable of. And that's something that I'll always owe to WoW. So it just feels kind of full circle. I wrestled for WoW. I've been WoW World Women's Champion. I've been WoW Tag Team Champion. I've traveled the world and now I'm back. And so I have new goals, new opportunities, new opponents, and I am just so excited to get in there.
Yeah, it's one of those things, you just mentioned that you traveled a lot. What is different or unique about the WoW women's locker room compared to other locker rooms that you've been in?
Well, for one, it's all women all the time. And then David and Nigel, of course. But that alone is something so special. But it's also something that is challenging because you think about when you were a women's match on an all-male show, then it's like, okay, you don't have to do much to impress or to stand out. We're the only women on the show. We automatically stand out. But with WoW, you really have to put in the work. You really have to put in that effort to see, okay, what can I do? How are the people going to remember me? How are the fans going to relate to me? What can I do to stand out? So that's something that is special. It's a constant challenge, but I'm up for the challenge.
And now, like David, when I talk about WoW and the legacy of it, and particularly the legacy of women's wrestling, you can't talk about women's wrestling without talking about WoW, especially the things that you put on television at such an early time. Why did you decide that women's wrestling was the thing? Because it seemed at the time that WoW started, everybody was like, well, women can't really wrestle. This is the time that you go and get popcorn. They're more of the sideshow act. And you were a visionary in this. So what made you decide that this is what you want to invest your money and your time in? Because this is a long time coming. Like you've been doing this for a long time, and I think a lot of people should give you your flowers. So I'm giving you your flowers for that, but I also just want to know what made you create it and then want to stick around doing it.
I just was lucky that I grew up in wrestling and I saw it on television as a kid, and my brothers had me go to the matches, and I just lucky that I got firsthand experience seeing women not treated correctly. I've mentioned before, Sandy Partlow, I went to a match at the state fair, just like Santana grew up going to state fairs with her dad, Kenny G. And I saw Sandy Partlow had to change clothes in the car. And just at a young age, I just questioned it. And I just said, why was that? Didn't know why. I just thought it was wrong. and I thought she deserved her own stage. And I remember she wrestled actually Candy Divine. She wrestled on some of the shows then. And I can remember Candy Divine, who's passed away, came out in these Ric Flair type robes with all the guards and everything, like a Gorgeous George did in the 50s and early 60s. And I just saw a vision that it could be bigger. And then I was just fortunate enough to be the announcer in the Midwest. So during a Princess Jasmine match with Candy Divine, I was able to ask the fans after the match, how would you all like to see a cage match between these two women? And the crowd went wild. And I ran downstairs to tell the Bruiser, I've just created a new revenue source for you. We're going to have women's wrestling, and we're going to have the first ever women's main event. And he told me I was absolutely nuts. And anyone that knows me that tells me no knows I'm going to go get a yes. So right then I said I was going to prove them wrong, went home and started some flyers to start an all women's. I still have it. There's only one, and it's, based on just old white paper and on a Xerox machine, that I was going to create an all women's wrestling league. And I took it to some of the gyms. Of course, they thought I was a weirdo and a nut, and I had to come out to LA to see my dream. But to answer your question, I just got lucky. I saw it. I saw what it could be, and I don't think it is where it's supposed to be yet. My vision isn't been fulfilled yet. I still have bigger dreams for all women's wrestling. And that includes seeing where it's been in terms of WWE's positioning of it, the other leagues. I'm glad we're playing a part in it, but I got bigger plans for even WOW.
Can you talk about those plans? Are you just
they'll emerge? One of them just being announced just recently with Roku Television announcing an all wrestling channel called Wrestling Central, where they're combining our programming with NWA programming and allowing fans to see it. Pluto TV having a 24/7 dedicated WOW channel showing past WOW events. Our streaming, we're going to announce another streaming service very soon in the near future. We've got it in syndication in all 210 markets every weekend, twice a weekend. My initial goal is we go live next year. We have big events and we have them live. And that's a mountain I've been wanting to climb for the last year. We've rebooted and established WOW as a brand. I think the fans are taking to it. Its audience is growing. And now we've got to push that rock up to the top of the mountain. And it's not there yet.
We're going to be busy.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. And it also sounds like you too, Santana's going to be busy. The Classmaster is the champion, the current champion right now. How do you, I'm guessing that's what the goal is, or tell me what your goal is as far as WOW is concerned for your career.
Obviously the goal is to be champion. But now there are so many other opportunities. It's not just the WOW World Championship. We've got the Tag Team Championship, which I've been the WOW Championship. I've been a Tag Team Champion. There's also the Trios Championship now. So that is a new opportunity. So yes, I'm going to continue to go for the gold, the WOW Championship. But I'm also looking at maybe finding a couple partners and seeing about, exploring the trios.
Okay. Top Tier seems to have it on lock, but what it seems like with a lot of tag teams and trios, it's like, eventually something happens that, they're no longer friends anymore. So do you anticipate their ultimate demise within their group Top Tier, or do you feel like you can find two of the best wrestlers at WOW and then you'll make it happen?
So for me, if anybody who knows me inside and out of the ring, I do it the right way. I have to be able to sleep at night and feel good about myself and what I've done and how I've gotten to where I am. So I think it's just a matter of finding the right team. Me alone, I've got 16 plus years of experience. I'm a second generation wrestler. So that alone should be helpful and an advantage. So I think it's just a matter of finding my other two little partners.
Now, TK, I've got a question for you. You watched WOW since we rebooted. You've seen it since we've had Fire involved. Kiera was involved. You've seen it with the Lioness involved, Nikita Lyons, who went into NXT. You've seen Santana Garrett in each of the other leagues and come back to WOW. What draws you to WOW?
I like overall when I got into this wrestling coverage podcasting thing, I like the fact that before you saw, for instance, WWE, you kind of saw the same type of woman, same type of stature. She was beautiful, all the things. I think, wow, you just see so many different type of women from so many different backgrounds. Like I remember when I was there for a live show, you had, I think her name was either Candy Crush or her wrestling name is Willow Nightingale. And so it's just kind of like you see so many different women from so many different backgrounds, different ages, stuff like that. That's kind of what drew me to WoW, because it just shows the diversity in it. And then also seeing women, you know, because they're so diverse, doing so many amazing things. So you have Classmaster, who's like 6 feet tall. Then you have Keita Rush, who's been in the game, and she has such a crazy story too. So just seeing so many different women, and then also holding a show at certain points throughout, you know, my tenure of kind of covering women's wrestling, people have been saying, oh, well, women can't have their own show and women can't. And I always reference, well, WoW's doing it. They managed to have a storyline. They managed, you know, they managed to have different wrestlers and all the things. So that's kind of what draws me, because it's possible. And the thing too, like I referenced before about giving your flowers, you remain consistent. If it didn't work at one point, you know, you reboot it and come back again. And, you know, there's not a shortage, especially right now with women in sports and stuff like that. There's not a shortage of women's wrestlers right now. So that's kind of what draws me into WoW.
That's cool. You mentioned Willow. I met her, did an interview with her on Zoom, and her smile lit up the room through the TV screen. And she hadn't wrestled much then. She had to come in from the East Coast. And when I met her, I said, we got to come up with a name for you. We got to create something that's catchy. And I said, you know, you're like eye candy. And she goes, eye candy, is that right? I go, yeah, you're gorgeous. And your smile lights up the room. And of course, she came into WoW. She had a neck injury that was in an independent show that took her out. And then look what happened to her now. And look where she is now with AEW. It's incredible.
It is. It definitely is. So my question, I don't know if you're going to be able to answer this, David. Who is your top 5 WoW superheroes of all time?
Of all time.
Of all time.
I'm going to answer that as we get toward the end of this, because I'm going to write down who they are. I'm not going to give you a flippant answer.
Okay. I mean, I didn't expect you to answer, because I almost felt like you were going to say they're all my favorite, but I'm really curious, because you've seen so many.
I'm writing some down right now. So go ahead.
No pressure to put me on there just because I'm on the interview. No pressure, David. Only an OG.
Oh my goodness. So Santana, you have a match coming up with Sylvia Sanchez. You know, has a no nonsense attitude. What's the game plan, if you can talk about it, as far as, you know, getting past her into kind of that title picture?
Absolutely. To kind of touch on what you said, WoW is so diverse. You know, we've got women from all over the world, all different backgrounds, all different wrestling styles. And so Sylvia Sanchez, I'm thrilled to get in the ring with her, because yeah, she's got this no nonsense attitude, but I feel like we're going to bring the fire. Like, we're competitive, we're athletic, and it's something I'm very much looking forward to.
And then, you know, as far as, you know, not necessarily asking you for your top 5, Santana, but as far as the roster that you've seen since the beginning to now, you know, who, I wouldn't say the word maybe shows most improved, but who are you just like in awe about? It's like, man, I can't believe, like when I think of WoW, and especially when I get to meet her in person, when I go to the shows, I think of Jungle Girl. And I'm just like, you know, she's amazing. And, you know, I feel like I'm putting the bid in for her, David. I feel like she has at least one more title run in her. That's my opinion. But, you know, I think of Jungle Girl. I think of so many different people. So when you kind of look at your time with WoW, you know, who are your favorites?
So it's funny that you say this, because David and I were just talking about this off air. Jungle Girl, she is incredible in and out of the ring, as a person, as a mother, as a survivor. And it just, you know, I'm honored to be in the ring with her, to be in the room with her. She's just absolutely incredible.
Is there anybody that you want to have a match with that you haven't had a chance to just yet?
You know what? I would love to just go through the roster, just to say that I've done it, that I can do it, that I am well trained and diverse in my wrestling capabilities. I've been wrestling 16 plus years. I've wrestled all over the world: Japan, India, Australia, you name it. And I love a challenge. So being able to wrestle someone with 1 year experience versus someone with 15 years experience, like I just love it.
And then I guess as well, David, as it's, WoW superheroes, we have kind of our consistents that kind of been in the game for a while. And then we have kind of new ones. Is there anybody that we can look forward to that is about to debut or that's kind of coming along that you're like, oh man, you guys definitely need to keep an eye out on her?
Well, she's on the show now, Paola Mayfield, but I think she's very interesting. She really wants to hone in her wrestling skills. She's flying here to California for a month just to do training on her own and putting herself up at a place. And she wants to hone her skills. She's got the annoyance of Abilene Maverick as her manager. I won't hold that against her. But that said, she's someone I think you're going to need to watch. Santana's going to have battles with her, I'm sure. She already has the interruptions and interferences of Abilene. And Gabriela Cruz is coming. She's Cuban-born wrestler. She's out of Florida. She trained initially in Orlando at the Performance Center. Okay. She's come to WOW, and she is dynamite. She really lit up the live crowd at the live events. And I think she's got a big personality that's going to impress people in the coming months in our next events that come up here.
So one more question for you, Santana, and then we'll hop back into that top 5, David. As far as, when fans obviously love you, especially the younger fans, what do you want them to take away from your journey both in and outside the ring?
I love that you said that. It's always been a goal of mine to be able to inspire and to give back, whether it's leading an all women's beginners wrestling class or going to speak to children, to let them know that anything is possible, follow your dreams. What I have to say is just be kind, dream big, and always believe.
All right, now's the big time, David. Who's top 5?
Well, all of them have a thread, just like a great storyline. And they're not in order, but the first 3 started WOW. And one happened to be, 2 happened to be the WOW champion, and one's still our WOW champion behind the scenes. It'd be Terry Gold, who won the first WOW championship in a Battle Royal match. Jungle Girl, who defeated and became a champion. Selena Majors, who came to us, who was on a bus with me when I was probably 20 something. She was 18. And I asked her what her goal was. And she said, I want to see women wrestle like the men and be as big as the men in wrestling. And I told her on that cold bus ride, I said, well, stay with me. It's going to happen one day. Maybe you'll help me make it happen. And she has. And then in the essence of having strong foundations and roots to grow something, you need that. You need a foundation to start it. And the next 3, I think, have helped grow us because they came in when we rebooted WOW. And one is Santana Garrett, because I went after her, brought her to Las Vegas. She sat in the room with me with Amber O'Neal. And I really saw them as a key catalyst to making WOW respected amongst the wrestling community. And many people didn't know who Santana was at the time, but I knew what she was going to become and her skill set. And she didn't disappoint. And the Beast, I think the Beast was a phenom, is a phenom. I hope she reconsiders and comes back to WOW. And then someone may not think of, she hasn't been a champion, because all those were champs. Terry Gold was a champion, the Beast a champion, Jungle Girl champion, Santana Garrett a champion. Keita Rush, she came into WOW training and immediately left. And I saw a potential athlete in her. She was a track star in college here in California. She left. And I said, try it. I didn't know she suffered from mental trauma, physical trauma, being bullied as a kid. But I think her joining WOW, sticking with it, me telling her to get back into the ring, this will change your life, and her becoming and starting the Bully Buster Foundation that teaches kids to identify bullying, parents on what to do about bullying, and kids, I think has changed lives. So that's my top 6.
That's a solid list. I mean, everyone very impactful. So I can't wait to see more. I can't wait for all the new things that are going to be happening. I can't wait for the trios championship to come your way, Santana. And we'll see how it goes. We'll start with you, Santana. Where can everybody find you?
Across the platforms at Santana Garrett.
And you, David?
Just go to @WowSuperheroes. It's on across the board @WowSuperheroes, and go to WOWE.com. Pick up some WOW gear and check out if you want to find out where it is in your market. You can put in your zip code and it'll tell you the time and the market across the country. And that's all on WOWE.com. See us on weekends. See us on Pluto, see us on Vice TV, and coming to Roku TV.
There it is. Thank you so much, you guys. My name is TK Trinidad. You can follow me everywhere at TK Trinidad. Thanks for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Ciao for now.
Thanks for joining WWT. Don't forget to like us on all social media platforms at WW Talk Pod. Like and subscribe on all video and audio platforms, like yesterday, my G. And check out our website at www.talkpod.com. Thanks for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.